Throughout this training, or at any time you need support, there are many ways to contact us. You can follow us on all major social media platforms or email us directly via our website, or you can click the Cancel Connect icon shown at the bottom of this slide on our website to book a consultation with one of our experts. The just-in-time, or JIT, inventory ordering process has been around since the 1970s, but much newer examples show how much more efficiently a business can run when it adopts the practice of ordering what is needed only when it's needed. Companies that are successful in using just-in-time methods minimize inventory, maximize efficiency, and increase profitability.
So Claire, what do you think about it when we say that stuff has been around since the 70s? Do you think it's been outdated?
Sometimes it can be, depending if it's been adapted or not. So a lot of these techniques that we're learning have been introduced way long ago, but as long as they're adapted to the changing ways of working and modernized, then they can still be very valuable. The foundations are still strong, just like this just in time.
Well, I agree with that, because just because something has been around forever doesn't mean that people have actually been utilizing it and using it in their businesses.
Yeah, correct. If we tried to apply it like we did in the 70s, we'd have a problem.
Oh, it'll be so much different.
Yeah.
Would be interesting, though.
So tell us more about it.
So just-in-time inventory management is a system of purchasing or manufacturing goods only when they need it to avoid a large amount of inventory in your warehouses. If you make your own products, that means you order small amounts of raw materials based on your production schedule. This strategy cuts down on the amount of materials you need to store until you're ready for production. If you order finished goods, your orders are also smaller, with just the amount of inventory you need rather than stockpiling large quantities.
A JIT inventory system is a strategy that enables a company to receive goods as close as possible to when they're actually needed. A major benefit is that it minimizes the need to store large quantities of inventory, which improves efficiency and provides a substantial cost savings. It's popular with small businesses and major corporations alike because it enhances cash flow and reduces the amount of capital needed to run the business.
And also, Claire, at the end of the day, if you're sitting on large inventories, you are hiding problems.
Oh yeah, and you have to manage that inventory and count, and things go obsolete. A lot of problems associated with that.
Now let's talk through some examples of the just-in-time inventory process. First, retailers. Many mass market retailers use just-in-time strategies to minimize their inventory costs and provide their customers with large quantities of merchandise at just the right time. For example, Target and Walmart schedule their seasonal merchandise to arrive just as demand is beginning to pick up for specific items. As the season draws to a close and demand dwindles, shelves are cleared to make room for the next season's items. Even smaller retailers can take advantage of the JIT method to streamline the delivery process. For example, a company that markets office furniture but does not manufacture it may order the furniture from the manufacturer only when a customer makes a purchase. The manufacturer delivers it directly to the customer. The retailer saves the cost of storing the inventory.
Burger King franchisors keep a substantial inventory of hamburger ingredients on hand all the time, but a hamburger is only cooked when it's ordered. This saves waste and gives them the opportunity to stand out from the crowd by bragging about the freshness of their food.
Hey Claire, did you know my doctor actually recommended that I eat at Burger King more often?
Really?
I mean, he said stop eating at McDonald's, but I know what he meant.
All right, another example. Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, entirely revamped Apple's manufacturing process.
Starting as Apple's chief operating officer in 1998, he pulled the company out of manufacturing, closing Apple's warehouses and factories around the world. He established just-in-time relationships with independent manufacturing contractors. The improvements reduced the amount of time Apple's inventory sat on the company's balance sheets, which went from months to days. Apple credits these changes as a key factor in the company's growth and profitability since then.
Another example, on-demand publishing. It's a prime example of the JIT inventory method, and it's become popular with independent publishers and self-publishing businesses. Master manuscripts of books are kept on hand, but texts are only printed and assembled as needed when a retail sale is actually made. This reduces bookstore returns and waste of unsold inventory.
By the way, this is a picture of the Rococo Library in Portugal's National Palace.
Ooh, it's pretty.
It's beautiful, eh? It's a pretty unique library. A colony of bats is allowed to live inside the library to eat the book-damaging bugs. Wow. During the day, the bats sleep behind these elaborate bookcases and only come out at night when the library is closed to eat up all the pesky insects. Yummy. Every morning before the library opens, the cleaners have to sweep up the scat they drop. A pretty small price to pay to preserve the collection, I guess. That's pretty interesting. Implementing a just-in-time system is a huge undertaking, but the rewards for doing it well is also massive. The basic principles of having the right amount of products where we need it and when we need it, as well as the basic information we need to collect to give us a full understanding of our production processes and parts supply. Let's go over a few key factors when considering implementing just-in-time. First, we aim for stability, and then we can work on continually improving.
So it starts with supplier relations. It might sound obvious, but considering whether your part comes from an internal supplier or external will determine how easy it is to get the supplier on board. Internal suppliers are a good place to start, to get that simple system up and running first. Then consider how to engage your external suppliers and get them involved. Having strong relationships with suppliers is essential when you use a JIT system. The premise is your ability to place a last-minute order for inventory and rely on the goods arriving in time. To do that, you need suppliers you can count on to deliver as needed. When you place an order, your supplier should have the ability to process and ship that order quickly to meet your needs. Because a JIT inventory system revolves around being as efficient as possible, time is your greatest resource. And so efficient communication with vendors is an absolute must.
Secondly, your internal storage. While implementing JIT, consider starting with a two-phase process. Create an internal storage area that supplies into the main assembly process. Monitor that for a few weeks and continue to problem solve and get that part of the supply process running well. Having that buffer will allow you to focus on one of the sections of the process at a time. Then extend the JIT system to the suppliers and then run out the buffer stock and link the two loops together.
Good idea.
Very simple.
Next, we're going to implement in stages. As well as implementing your JIT system in stages, also consider looking at one category or one supplier and use that pilot to get a better understanding of the issues that your particular business will face. There's a pretty high learning curve with JIT, and if this is a change that we're implementing, we have to demonstrate how it works to employees.
Developing internal process charts for manufactured goods and flow charts to demonstrate the entire life cycle of the product can help employees better understand the processes. Once it's successfully implemented, JIT will typically lower expenses because of lower storage costs, lower insurance expenses, fewer losses due to obsolescence or expiration, and less theft, definitely. JIT inventory systems allow for a greater degree of product flexibility with the ability to service a wider range of customers. You also need fewer resources for internal controls.
This model has the potential to dramatically reduce waste, lower costs, and improve profitability. Organizations that avoid the 7 categories of waste can operate with leaner staffs, less space, and fewer resources. Because they reduce their investments in inventory, they have more capital available for investment and growth.
The financials of JIT companies are far more attractive to investors, who can see that they are organizationally better managed, more efficient, and capable of producing outsized returns on investments. This results in inflows of capital that enable more growth and expansion to continue the cycle. The manufacturing organizations you know best, from Coca-Cola to Toyota, rely heavily on JIT.
Well, that said, it's a highly complex system and requires expertise and skills that many organizations don't have. It requires precise, predictive, and planning capabilities in all operations, from manufacturing all the way to sales. It's also somewhat dependent on the ability of organizations to control for variables like inclement weather, delayed shipments, or labor strikes or shortages. The model has many interdependencies that are risky if something should go wrong.
So for example, relying on unreliable suppliers can jeopardize all of the steps in the process that follow, whereas having more inventory on hand mitigate this risk. Suppliers may be affected by natural disasters, unavailability of raw materials, or management shakeups. Or they may go out of business sometimes, which is really a problem. So some raw materials and supplies may have fluctuating availability, which may not work within the JIT model. Larger organizations have the financial power to form exclusive agreements with suppliers to ensure tight controls, but many smaller organizations are vulnerable to suppliers' mistakes. Despite some of its risks, the upside of just-in-time is so strong that its application is becoming more widespread, and smaller organizations are increasingly embracing this concept.
With these aspects considered as you head out to start implementing a JIT system, remember that it won't be smooth sailing, but the ability of you and your team to problem solve and build a robust system will ensure your success. Well, it's that time. Time to pause the video and take a quick quiz on just-in-time.
It has been our sincere pleasure being with you through this part of the training, and we thank you for your dedication to creating a better workplace and an environment that you can truly enjoy.